D-Wave Quantum shows great structural clarity when it comes to the larger time frame, as well as the currently available correction within the larger time frame, as well as the smaller time frame. To the point where we could consider a bottom to be in, extensions to new all-time highs, but probably even more importantly, it clearly shows the levels of resistance it needs to break to shift to a high likelihood of extending to new all-time highs. So by the end of this video, you will understand exactly the two paths that I'm tracking for this stock on the larger time frame, the levels of support that I'm tracking for the smaller time frame interpretation, this structure, as well as the levels of resistance that heavily shift the probabilities to favor having a bottom in. Welcome to the trade setup. So on the larger time frame, it's rather simple. I am tracking an impulse and I have two primary scenarios. Either we are developing the count shared here on the screen, we would still be developing the overall wave tree at this point, in which case I would have a series of 1-2 setups here. This would have been the wave 3 up. The wave 4 down is complete, and I'm looking for one additional extension within the wave 5 to complete a larger wave 3. Once that is done, we get another 4th and a 5th to complete the large wave 3. Pretty simple, right? But for this interpretation, the wave 4 must have a bottom in. Then the other possibility would be that we only have a single wave 1 up here, and the wave 2 would have extended all the way down here. We are essentially removing this additional couple of 1-2 setups, where the wave 3 would have a top in, we are looking for the wave 4 correction, and the wave 5 would complete the impulse, right? The 5-wave pattern up would be complete. Long term, still quite bullish, but short term, only one additional high before a much larger correction would emerge. However, the implication for this scenario is that we are looking at the wave 4 correction to extend, to get a reset, to push below $13 and build something like an A, B, C pattern. And to be honest, even in this interpretation, I would probably prefer one more extension to higher prices to happen anyway. Maybe not to new all-time highs, but yeah, I wouldn't expect a direct descent lower. But that would be the implication if we cannot hold the current lows within the wave 4. So it's rather simple. We have the levels of support we are tracking from a larger time frame perspective. If need be, it can extend down to $5.90. But this is not what makes this stock interesting today. No. The direct extension path is what makes it a very, very interesting opportunity, as within the smaller time frame. I've already shared this with the viewers on YouTube, with the Patreon, with literally everyone who has been following me. Within the smaller time frame, I'm tracking an initial 5-wave move to the upside, which suggests that with high probabilities, after a 3-wave correction into the support zone, we are looking for extensions within at least another 5-wave move to the upside that could very, very easily take this stock even to new all-time highs, potentially within the wave 3, but at the very least, we would expect generally a wave C. So the implication is that against $15.50, we would like to see at least one additional wave to the upside. And assuming a bottom would be in within this structure, which by the way is a possibility, the ideal targets we would get for the wave 3 would be the 138.2% extension of the wave 1, $56. But even for a wave C, even in the bearish scenario, where we would get a reset within the wave 4, I would prefer one additional high. I would prefer for this to become, at the very least, an A, B, C pattern, for which the ideal target is the 100% extension of the wave A, $39.70. Quite compelling, isn't it? Now, this all can be quite interesting. We have pretty deep levels of support. There is the implication that we may get a push even below the levels of support without fully breaking this scenario. It would shift the probabilities, however, but for full invalidation of this setup, it has to break below the beginning of this entire wave 1 up, right? It has to break below $12.75. And I do not know which of these scenarios will end up following through eventually. there is a corner case where we could consider the wave 1 to have topped here. This could be an overshoot, an expanded flat, an A, B, C structure, in which case the levels of support could extend lower, yeah, allowing even $14.70 to be reached still within the support zone. But that doesn't really affect me. I am trading this from a large time frame perspective. I understand how this could get still a deeper retracement, as depending on how this move down, how this correction develops, I could see a fair bit lower prices before the reversal happens. And it's not always the case that we see these levels of support hold, but generally, as long as we do not get a sustained break below them, the probabilities for the pattern, for the setup to work out, remain intact. Now, going into the internal structure, this is actually what attracted my attention to even do an update on this stock. I am tracking from the top, from this as a wave 1, a 3-wave pattern. I'm looking for an A, B, C structure where, as I've mentioned a moment ago, the ideal target for the wave C is the 100% extension of the wave A, in which case we are looking at $16.50. And would you look at that, this level has just been reached, and that has happened on Friday, where we have gotten a pretty decent bounce from that point. And to reiterate, this is not a guarantee that the bottom would be in, but it would be an early sign, an early indication that this wave C could be complete. We are seeing some signs of strength right as we have reached the ideal target. But this would be almost meaningless unless we could extract valuable levels to watch next. So I go into a smaller time frame where I want to clarify what type of structure I'm tracking here. It's a zigzag correction where the wave A could have probably worked out as a leading diagonal, right? Then within the wave C, I'm looking potentially even for an impulse. Yeah, probably works out better. And in that case, within this wave C, I'm looking for a 5-wave pattern to develop, and I expect to find within the motive waves 5 waves as well. So right now, the main consideration, I would have this as a 5-wave pattern potentially complete. It's not going to be exactly clear within such a small time frame, but this is the main expectation, right? This would imply that we would be looking at the larger wave C to potentially be complete. And of course, I could argue very, very easily that within this supposed wave 5, where we would have like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, we would like to see one additional low. I can tell you it's not absolutely necessary. There are a couple of interpretations I could track that don't actually need it. I could consider the wave 3 to have bottomed here, possibly. Maybe the wave 3 bottomed here, the wave 4 would have topped here, and the wave 5 would have a much more clear 5-wave pattern. It's not exactly ideal, as the wave 2 would have been much larger than the wave 4. Probably quite flawed. But I could also have an internal one too that I do not really see. Then this would have been a wave 3 within the wave 5, a wave 4, and the wave 5 would have been an extended one. Another possibility to have a full count. Well, what if we track the internal levels of resistance to indicate when we might have a bottom in, to indicate when they would get broken? Well, the price would need to break the 50% retracement, $17.20, and it actually did. It is a very nice match for this structure, but it hasn't been a sustained break. So there is still risk there that we will get one additional low within this orange wave 5, where yes, we would need a reset, potentially even heading towards the 78.6% retracement before marking the bottom of the entire white wave 2. That is the first level of resistance that I need to track for this stock, but that is not the most important one. I believe that to be the more likely one to lead to additional lows, but that is not the most important one. The most important level of resistance to watch out for would consider that the wave A might have bottomed within this region, potentially the wave B topped here, and this would have been a 1, 2, and instead of having this as the wave C, it would be a wave 3 development, where it would require one additional correction within a larger wave 4, and then a wave 5 to complete the pattern. And if the orange structure extends within one more low, the levels of resistance I would consider for this idea would have to be dragged a little bit lower. But in the assumption that a bottom would be in within the current structure, I would be able to look for a larger wave 4 correction and a wave 5 in, let's say, green. In this scenario, the levels of resistance that need to be broken, which would also provide great help in identifying a bottom, would extend up to $19.90. Only with a sustained break above the 50% retracement in green can it really have the strong indication that a bottom would be in. And those are quite far away, but once this is broken, the likelihood of having a bottom within probably this entire structure would have increased significantly. It's difficult to put an exact number on how much it would have increased, but that would be a great confirmation that the bottom is indeed in. And it's not a guarantee. Any structure, any setup can fail. But the degree of confirmation that would provide would be extremely useful in improving the probabilities of a bottom being in. And that is about all that we can extract from the currently available data. So if you want even more from me, more stocks, more opportunities, even more frequent updates on these opportunities, you can check out the Patreon. But for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and if you enjoyed the content and want to support it directly, check out the channel membership, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.